And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. We're going to talk about what is going on in the world of craft beer. There's always something going on, so there'll be something to talk about. And sometimes it involves Malort. This week it might. You never know. You have to stay tuned. Anyway, I am Brian Hewitt. Tim is on assignment this week, so with me is the one and only, thank goodness, Mo Mike Nate. Mo Mike Nate, how are you doing?
Doing well. It's great to, have more microphones so that I could actually come in here and assist you while Tim's on. Tim, the operative, is on assignment.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I think that though you don't actually have Mo Mike, you kind of do now that you're, percentage wise, you have Mo Mike than you did before. Instead of a third of the mic, you have like half of the mic now.
That is a good point. I was comparing to our in-studio days when I had zero mic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Compared to a normal week to tonight, I do have Mo Mike.
But you had a lot more hat exposure, I think, in the video.
Good point.
So that's something. Yeah, people can actually see what's on the front of your hat. Now they can. They have no idea. It could be anything.
An Atlanta Braves hat. Nothing too flashy.
Oh, hey, Stephen Pete. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
In the light chat, in the chat there. So let's get started here. We had a little bit of we did something we haven't done in quite a while, and I love it. I love it that we did it. I got to say, it's a little on me that we don't do it more often because I know Mo Mike Nate's always down for it, and I just don't get around to it. I'm talking about bottle shares. This past weekend, we did a bottle share, and we didn't get crazy with it. Not like old school days where there was a table strewn with empties, and we were just wrecked the next day. I actually felt fine that evening and pretty much fine, maybe a little tired the next day, but pretty much unfazed by the whole thing. I don't know, that may have made me a little cocky. Now I might be a little more likely to do it, and I may wind up hurting myself, but what did you think? Do you have any, how did you feel afterwards, first of all?
So
because you're younger than I am.
Yeah, no, we cracked the code on this. We started early. We paced ourselves. We had 3 mouths, but only 2 of us were opening bottles. And we ended early enough. I asked if you wanted to partake in a cigar. You turned me down, which I think was the move. And I felt great the next day. And despite the night before, Party Nate and I hung out way too late in the night. A 4 a.m. hangout every once in a while with brothers, fine. But doing a bottle share right after, I was a little nervous, but I came out successful. I did not hurt, did not hang over. It was good.
Part of me regrets not going for the cigar because I really would have liked that, but it was the decision at that point in time, I think, that made the difference between me feeling pretty much fine the next day and me kind of regretting it the next day. So I think I made the right call, but
I guess we're going to have to do another bottle share, and you don't turn on the cigar, and then we can science.
We just start the cigars earlier, I guess. That could be
go.
It. Were there any standout beers in the bottle share? Because we had some fun stuff. We had more recent stuff, but we had a couple of vintage bottles in the share.
So it's slightly vintage. It's only by 6 months, but I had gone up to one of our in-state breweries around December or January and went and visited Cherry Street Brewing, and they don't distribute quite as much as they used to in the market. And so I went up to get some of their anniversaries in December. And Brian, I know you're a big fan of the blank wine, so the barley wine, the wheat wine, the rye wine, the oat wine. And they had a large collection of those. And we opened from their 12-12-12 series and Elijah Craig wheat wine, their Elijah Craig barrel-aged wheat wine that was, I thought, incredible. So happy to share it with you, and really enjoyed that particular bottle.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I like all the wines. In fact, I like wheat wine and every other rye wine and barley wine, and I think there's a couple of other ones. I like those more than actual just wine, which is kind of funny. But that was really good. I was really happy to get to finally open up the Double Bellum. It was Imperial Stout from the now departed Atlanta Brewing Company. They were kind of an early loss. Like, we've had a lot more breweries closing recently, but they've been gone for quite a few years at this point. And I think this one was from May of 2019, if my Googling served me, but really held up extremely well. I think there was 2 barrels involved. I think one of them also was Elijah Craig. So we had a little bit of a theme going on with that, but that was great. If you have a bottle of that, the people listening locally, now's a good time to open it up. I don't think it's getting any better. It's starting to show a little of the oxidation, a little of the age in there, but still really, really drinks nice. So yeah, it was a good time. I recommend it. If you haven't gotten together with some buddies, gotten into some old beers that you have hanging out in your cellar, go do that. They're not getting better, a lot of them, if you've been collecting as long as I have. So
they're not getting any younger for sure.
They're not going to get any, much like me, not getting any younger. So, but I think we need to move on into the beers of the week. So,
yeah.
Well, Mike Nate, what are you drinking this week?
So part of the perks of having Brian attend a bottle share is we get to swap some beers back and forth. And Brian, one of the beers you gave me was from Brooklyn Brewery, their Fonio Rising, which is their pale ale brewed with Fonio. And that's what's in my glass right now. And it's one of those things that it tastes great. I can't like place the Fonio grain in particular. And so it's not one of those things that just tastes that much far out. If I see it in the store, I would definitely be down to buy it. Following up behind that from Dissolver with a collaboration with Mountain Layers, I've got their Sticky Tiger Fuzz, which is a West Coast Pilsner. And their description on it is pretty expansive, but by the looks of it, it's got some wildflower honey. It's got a unique citrus called the Buddha's Hand Zest, which I looked it up, and it's a unique citrus, all right.
It kind of looks like a hand, right? A chubby little hand, something like that.
It kind of looks like a chubby little hand.
It's weird.
And so it's a really unique looking. I'm excited to have this one next. And then rounding out, I saw that Parrish had released a new Ghosts in the Machine collaboration. This one with Jester King, and they're calling it Goats in the Machine, and that is a double IPA with Maui Nelson, Motueka, Hop Keith, Nectaron, and Citra. And the reason why they call it Goats in the Machine is that outside the brewery for Jester King in Austin, Texas, they have a nearby ranch that has a herd of 75 Nigerian dwarf goats. And so, inspired by those little creatures, that is where they got inspiration for Goats in the Machine. So I'm very excited for that one. Brian, what do you have in your glass this week?
That's a really specific variety of goat. I'm like, okay, yeah. I also started out with Fonio Rising, and I think it's fine. I want to say that I detect a little bit of a different grain flavor in there, but here's the thing. You know it's a Fonio beer, so you're thinking about the grain flavor you're drinking, and is it that much more pronounced or more different? I don't know. I think it might be the attention I was giving it while I was drinking it. I like it. I got a sixer of it. I've only ever seen it one place locally, and if I happen to get back there again, I'll get more. I like this idea. I like they're calling it the West African super grain. I like that it supports the economy there. I like that it's really good in terms of like water consumption, as in it doesn't require much. So it's good in a lot of different ways. And I'm happy to drink it whenever I see it. It's just fun. It's just something you can geek out about a little bit while you're drinking. So anyway, that was a pale ale brewed with Fonio. Now I am working on a Three Taverns Pilsner Urquell Pilsen Liberation. That is, of course, a collaboration beer between the two of them. It's a Pilsner. It's actually Pilsner Urquell's experimental brewery called Electrona. And I always forget the name of it, so I wrote it down this time. So this is the 2025 edition of it. So I want to say they've been doing it for 3 years, but it might have been longer than that. But I've gotten them every year, and I enjoy them, and I will continue to get them. And the cans are fun. The design changes every year. So it just kind of make it a little bit more interesting. So yeah. And after that, maybe during the show, maybe afterwards when we talk to the Patreon folks, I will be getting into an Equilibrium Great Notion collaboration called MC3PO. It's a New England IPA with Mosaic Incognito, Mosaic Lupomax, Mosaic by itself, Strata, and Amarillo hops. So my guess is it's going to be a little Mosaic-y. And I think I saw somebody on social media telling me they were drinking it like at a Friday night, and I saw the can and I was highly amused by it. So when I saw it on the shelf, I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to get that. And the Equilibrium and Great Notion both make really good beers. So it's hard to go wrong there. It seemed like a really easy pick. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm happy with that. So we'll see how that goes. But it must be time for us. Oh, yeah. Did we already talk about? Yes, we did. We already got into the bottle share. I lost track of.
No,
I'm
you're
already
good.
Unhinged, Nate. I'm already going off the rails. But
so speaking of going off the rails, when you're on a plane and you are drinking on a plane, What sort of beers? Uh, what sort of beers do you think is ideal for that? And if there's one that is specifically made for it?
I would say a 750 of 14% pastry stout is ideal for it. You know, you're going to taste that the entire time. It's going to knock you out. You're going to sleep the entire way. You probably will need to take something for the headache, you know, because you'll wake up with a headache on that one, the dehydration with the airplane and that. But I can't think of a better beer. Oh, wait. You know what? I can. I have an article about that. So the airline Cathay Pacific, and I always want to say Carthay Pacific. Am I alone in that? Anyway, it's Cathay
No.
Pacific. Were you going to agree with me?
No, I was going to agree with you. Yeah, when I see, yeah, you got
Yeah.
me saying it.
Yeah, that's right. I've already, everybody now, I put a little worm in your head, but so the airline Cathay Pacific has teamed up with Hong Kong Beer Company. I believe they're also go by the name of Guilo Beer in China, but to create a beer that they're claiming to be the first ever designed specifically to taste great when you're flying at 35,000 feet. So I think we've talked about this before, but when you're in a plane, your sense of taste is dulled by the change in atmosphere and other things like pressure and some other stuff. And I think it's the dehydration too. So the collaboration beer is called Betsy Beer. It's a 4.2% pale ale, which is the opposite of a 750 of 14% stout, I got to point out. It has been designed to overcome the dulling of the senses when you're on board of a plane by basically amping up the recipe to include more aromatic compounds. So it was originally released back in 2017, if you've heard of it before, but it wasn't optimized for in-flight enjoyment the way this one has been, and it was discontinued for not being delicious enough. But the new recipe makes use of dragon eye fruit and a special regional honey to give the beer a more pronounced aromatic and floral qualities. So initially, the beer will be served in first class and business class on flights between Hong Kong and the UK. So it's not going to do us a lot of good, but I'm intrigued by it. You will also be able to find it in Cathay Pacific's airport lounges, I think, in the UK and Hong Kong. Reportedly, it drinks well on the ground, too. The article I read said you can buy it online if you want, but when I checked, it was sold out. So if you're really interested in this, you might want to check back later. But I expect that this, if they did a good job with it, this could do really well, and it may be expanded to more flights. So something to keep in mind, something to keep an eye out for when you're flying. But I'm intrigued by it. I like this idea.
And honestly, I imagine something that tastes well when you're that high in the, in the atmosphere or whatever, and your senses are dulled, your taste is dulled. That on the ground, everything would just be enhanced. Like it would just feel like beer plus almost. That the flavor would just be that much more pronounced.
I have to wonder if they're exaggerating a little bit about the aromatic qualities of the dragon eye fruit, which I don't know exactly what that is, and the various honey. Now, I got to tell you, there are honeys out there that have a pronounced, like dense, earthy, aromatic quality to them that would be good. I think it'll just taste even better. I don't think it's going to knock you over. We are talking about a pale ale here, so it's got to be reasonable at any place you drink it. So. But yeah, I would be interested in tasting that side by side with another beer in that vein, another pale ale. So, like a 420 pale ale. It's like, which do I taste more? Do I actually taste that a little bit more than the other or not? So I have to wait and see if it makes it over here and we can give that a shot. Do a little beer science in flight one of these days.
Absolutely.
But, getting back to, we were talking about fonio, but we're going to get back to some other grains. We're going to get back to some barley. And there's a little bit of legal trouble happening right now when it comes to like ownership of varieties of barley. Anyway, Carlsberg and Heineken are in a legal fight right now over joint patents they have. This is interesting. They have a joint patent on this. Newer varieties of barley plants. And I say newer, the plants themselves were actually awarded patents nearly 10 years ago, but some of the policies, just before some policies went into place that would have prevented this possibly from happening, the challenge against these patents is basically who owns nature. Can and should you be able to patent a plant that is developed through kind of natural-ish breeding processes, like a selective breeding type of situation? So a group called No Patents on Seeds says no, and they are leading a charge against Carlsberg and Heineken, and that's been all over the news this week, them going after this. The legal challenge against the patents is bouncing around between higher and lower courts in Europe, and the outcome is not clear. They do have the patents currently. It's not clear if they're going to be able to keep them. As for the barley itself, one variety has genetic changes that leads to lower levels of DMS, which DMS in higher qualities or quantities can give the beer an unpleasant sulfur flavor. So you don't want to do that. Anybody that homebrews knows you want to avoid that if you can. Based on using that barley, they have also patented a brewing process that involves using less heat, which saves the brewery, energy, money in terms of power. I wonder, like, if it just is it just boiling for less time, because I don't know how you patent that. But anyway, I know that part of the boiling is to drive off the DMS. So I'm not sure what to think about this, because here in the U.S. we have proprietary hop varieties. We've talked about them, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal here. We don't have people protesting that and getting up in arms in that. I think those are also achieved by, naturalish, selective breeding processes. So not stuff that you could reproduce with other plants if you wanted to without any proprietary knowledge. So, but maybe the key difference here is it's proprietary to a grower versus being proprietary to a beer company. So you don't have to pay royalties to the guy who grew it. You just buy it from him and use it. But in the other case with the Carlsberg and Heineken, I think if you use the grain, you have to pay them some kind of a licensing fee. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but having that tied up with a brewery it does seem weird. It seems like it's less appealing and a little grosser than, having a farmer that, hey, I pioneered this particular plant. This is mine. And maybe go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so with the proprietary hops and it being affiliated with the grower, that makes more sense than it being affiliated with the brewery or the purchaser. But if Carlsberg and or Heineken is wanting to patent these barleys, which they already have, then if they're buying the entire crop, they would probably want to protect their intellectual property, in the sense of they probably are using some sort of possibly GMO, like genetic. I don't remember what it stands for, but basically
genetic modification. Yeah.
So if they're genetically modifying crops and they're working hand in hand with the grower, or even they own the grower, it would make more sense that they would have that ownership and be suing for rights of that patent. But paying, basically licensing rights or licensing to be able to purchase the grain and then use it, are they going to take a percentage off of the sale of every can? That's tricky.
I'm not sure if so I'm thinking more about it when you say buy the entire crop. It may be a matter of we have patented this, so the grower can grow it, but he can't sell it to anybody else without us taking a cut. So in a way, it's kind of licensing, but it might be a way of them collecting a fee on anybody using the same kind of grain, which is kind of an anti competition type of thing. So it's a little seems a little unethical, but and I was thinking more about the hop thing, and I think it has a lot more to do with the name that they give it. So in theory, I'm not a lawyer again, I think that if somebody was aware of roughly what a particular a proprietary hop variety was like, and were thinking about ways I could reproduce something similar, they could do it and produce those plants and sell those hops. And we just have to give it a different name. They could not call it Sabro or whatever, like if, like a lot of times what the pedigree is. We can make our own. You also have the issue of with these growers, there's not a lot of growing regions, and there's not actually the growing regions are shrinking because the demand on hops has been going down a bit. So maybe that's part of it as well. But it's all very interesting. It's makes you wonder about that stuff. Like what can you really patent? It's like some of this is just natural, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brian, when you go out to a tap room, what are some of the things that you are not looking forward to when you visit a tap room?
Well, I'm not looking forward to standing in line to order beer if I can avoid it. I'm not looking forward to standing in line to use the restroom. I'm usually not in favor of kids running around and screaming, but
those can kind of ruin the fun, right?
Yeah, they can. And it turns out there's an article I came across. That's funny you mentioned this feeds right into an article I have. So this week I saw a story about a brewery in Boston updating their taproom policy on children. It's Bog Iron Brewing. That's not really super important to the story, or at least my point with it. The new policy states that children must remain seated with their parents, both in the taproom and the attached beer garden. So the article mentioned the policy was announced on social media, and they put out a link to it. So I headed over to Facebook expecting to see a lot of juicy drama, a lot of strangers yelling at each other online. Here's the crazy thing. There was no drama at all. I feel like a few years ago, there would have been hundreds of comments from strangers yelling at each other over the policy on kids and like, let kids be kids and all this sort of thing. This time when I looked, it was like over 800 likes, nearly 200 comments. And I scrolled through a bunch of the comments, and most of the comments were supportive too. Like, wow, what's going on here? So the story also mentions that other breweries in the areas have adopted similar restrictive policies on kids, including ones that ban anyone outright that's under 21 after like 6 p.m. or sometimes of the year, maybe as late as 8 p.m. But so Mike Nate, pointed out that Reformation locally here in Georgia had published a similar update on social media about the children in the tap room and like new policies and warning people about what they do. That got over 1,000 likes, and I was rolling through the comments looking for the people that always come out wanting to fight over the policies on kids and tap rooms. All I saw were supportive comments for the most part. So I'm just wondering what happened. Like even people posting that children don't belong in tap rooms, which a few people do that. That didn't seem to get a lot of pushback, just a little bit. In the past, this would have been a powder keg. So what's your take on kids in tap rooms, Mike Nate? Does that change if is it just a tap room, or if maybe it's like a beer garden? Like, what do you think about it? Like, what do you think the policy should be?
So we have talked about this on the show several times throughout the years, and honestly, I don't really have that strong of an opinion of kids being in the being in the space, because if you are offering, let's look at craft beer, the state of craft beer right now. It's hard enough to get people in the door, and if you're going to just do a hard line, no kids allowed, well, then you're already excluding a chunk of the market from ever crossing that threshold in your tap room. But I don't want kids running around. I don't want them screaming. I don't want them knocking over things or damaging things, and so like just ruining the general atmosphere of the space. And so the Reformation update was basically just saying like, hey, find your children. This is not a free for all. They have this massive outdoor space that's mulched, but it's this massive space, this shared space that's outside of their tap room at their main location in downtown Woodstock. And I like that they just sort of reminded people, hey, we acknowledge that this has become a family space, but this is not a play space for kids. And they direct people to where the nearest playground is. But if it's a tap room, I think the kids need to be a little bit more on a shorter leash. But if it's a beer garden and there's space for them to be children and experience the world as children instead of as little adults or whatever, then I think it's okay.
I think I tend to agree with that. The actual enclosed area with the tap room, and they got a lot of breweries have that very factory
Industrial,
kind of aesthetic or like feel, and the acoustics are like being in a factory, so that just booms. And on my old crotchety ears, like the screams get really irritating really quick. I'm not a fan of that. So the screaming and the running around, and I really don't want to be bumped into while I'm drinking my beer, because I really don't want to spill my beer. Honestly, that's what it boils down to. So I'm not a fan of that. You know what? A respectful kid that's hanging out at the table, maybe, I don't know, playing, portable game system, looking at their phone, that sort of thing, while their parents enjoy a beer or two. I don't have a problem with it. Like if you're doing your thing outside, you know what? I don't mind that either. Like I was surprised by this update where they were talking about the beer garden and they wanted the kids sitting at the table. I guess things have gotten really out of hand in some cases where parents just completely ignore the kids and just let them do whatever. The beer garden, if there's room to do it and it's not going to, cause problems with other people, I don't mind that so much. It's outside, you don't have the same echo. So yeah, I just thought I thought it was interesting. It seems like there's a cultural shift, or maybe it's a matter of maybe the young families that have kids of that age don't have the discretionary money to go to the bars, the tap rooms anymore, or maybe because of the way things are changing, tastes are drifting. Maybe they're not as interested in going there, and that's actually worrisome. So part of me is a little disappointed there wasn't more fighting about this. But if the tap room's a little quieter when I'm in there, I mean, there is a silver lining, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, Brian, let's give thanks to our long-running supporter of the show.
You know what? That's a really good idea. If you hadn't said something, I might have forgotten. It's a good thing. So we've got a little roulette in the news this week. We haven't gotten to it yet, but and it seems like that is a sign that I should play my favorite form of roulette, which is truck and tap roulette. That is, of course, me letting fate guide my hand to the next beer. In this case, fate comes in the form of Google's random number generator, and I'll let it give me a number between 1 and 20, which corresponds to the taps at Truck and Tap. There are 20 of them, in case you've forgotten. And I will take the beer at that tap number. It's as easy as that. So letting it roll at Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Pontoon's Crushing Waves. It's a fresh pineapple and tart cherry sour. And talk about luck. Proceeds for Pontoon beers go to charity during June at Truck and Tap. So this is a great pick all around. I'm doubling down here. At the Duluth location, I'm getting a good cold beer called Classic City Lager from Creature Comforts. This beer got a gold medal at GABF last year. So, hey, that's another win for the fickle hand of fate there. And at Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Allagash Triple. A bit boozier than the previous two selections, but I'm always game for a good Belgian triple, and Allagash makes a good Belgian triple. So this is a win. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Creature Comforts Creature 11 Double Dry Hop Cosmic Debris IPA. This is Creature Comforts 11th Anniversary Double IPA with big notes of citrus, melon, pine, and starfruit. I've had this one before, and I will be happy to have it again. So another great pick. So there you have my surprisingly safe round of Truck and Tap roulette. A few of the beers got up there a bit in the ABV, but nothing too scary. But, here's the thing with this. Truck and Tap only pours good beer. So playing a round of Truck and Tap roulette is never going to be that risky. Heck, you might even find your new favorite beer. If you'd like to practice a round of Truck and Tap roulette on your own, you can do that anytime with the help of the tap list on the website, truckandtap.com. Of course, while you're there, you can also find information about food trucks and events as well. That's truckandtap.com. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap, longtime supporter since the inception of this entire show.
Yeah, we love them. Love going there. Great time.
Absolutely. And when you do go, there is a sign featuring the Beer Guys Radio logo at, I believe, every location. So
I believe
see the sign, take a photo of it, tag us in it, and show your support.
Let us know. Well, moving on, we have another Tilray update, and we had a few of them for a while, and they've gone a little quiet, but Tilray's back in action. Tilray has closed Redhook Brew Lab in Seattle. This is the last physical location for the 44-year-old Redhook brand. The closure is part of a bigger plan by Tilray Brands to cut costs and make their brewing operations more efficient. Even though the physical brewery is closed, Tilray says Redhook beer will still be brewed elsewhere, and it will still be available. So if you're a big fan, you'll still be able to get it. It just won't be brewed in Seattle, I don't think. According to information leaked online, there was a large increase in rent at the location, and that was a big factor in the decision to close. If you're already looking at cutting costs and suddenly there's a huge increase in one of your facilities, that moves it towards the chopping block pretty quick. So speaking of Tilray, they also recently stopped large-scale brewing at Revolver Brewery in Texas, and they also recently closed Hop Valley Brewery in Oregon, moving that production to other Tilray facilities. They say all of these cuts have saved them about $25 million, and they're looking for more savings still. So this is not over yet, I guess. They want their breweries running at full tilt, not half capacity. And I don't know how close they are to full tilt now, but I know when they started this, I think they were closer to half capacity. So, Yeah, unfortunately, that's where we're at. According to the latest numbers, the beer that is still paying the bills for Tilray, and this is good news right now, it's Sweetwater 420. That's their big moneymaker, and it's up 3.6% year over year. So that's good for us here in Atlanta. I like seeing that. I like knowing that Sweetwater's safe for now. We'll see how it goes. An interesting bit of history about Redhook: they were the first brewery to ever sell out. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they sold a percentage of their ownership to Anheuser-Busch back in 1994 before anybody really ever talked about selling out. According to a post on the Beervana blog website, Paul Shipman, one of the founders, one of the co-founders, I believe, he calls the sale the defining error of his career. He always regretted doing that, and he said that after that he could see how that hurt the company while other companies were rising, and really regrets it. And unfortunately, yeah, I remember Redhook being a bigger thing and kind of fading from consciousness, but they're still around. You know, Anheuser-Busch didn't do them well, and Tilray's not treating them well either, but they still exist. So if you like them, go support them, go drink their beer. So there you have it. All right, so moving on, we have something else that's kind of interesting, and this is what I was referencing in the truck and tap little blurb that I did earlier. Yeah, we came across an article about a TTB label approval for New Belgium Voodoo Ranger, a collaboration with everybody's favorite horrible bitter digestive Malort. It turns out the limited edition 7.5% IPA is actually out now, so we didn't even see this be mentioned other than that TTB notice. According to the Voodoo Ranger website, it's out there. It's called the Voodoo Ranger X Malort Roulette IPA, and it's being described as a Malort-style IPA, which is, and this is a quote, brewed to capture the signature bitter wormwood flavor of Malort. That sounds delightful. But here's the catch. And you have thoughts?
I mean, delightful is a stretch. I think delightful is in the most sarcastic sense. And also, when I think Malort, I don't think wormwood.
Do you not think? So what do you think of when you think of Malort?
Malort is very proud of saying that their spirit tastes like grapefruit mixed with burnt hair.
Okay, yeah, the burnt hair part. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
They're very proud of how awful their thing is, and we have tried Malort on the show. We have also tried barrel aged Malort on the show.
Oh yes,
and both have been awful. And so I think an IPA mixed with Malort or a Malort infused IPA, or however they decided to combine these two products, just I don't think delightful is the correct adjective I would use.
Probably not. So I think that from the indication I've got, because technically it's not legal to just pour a spirit into a beer. What they probably would have done is add a bunch of wormwood to maybe dry hopped it, so to speak, with wormwood. Just add it to the finished beer, or maybe they added it to the boil to really enhance what's extracted from it if they're really looking to capture that. But yeah, so anyway, getting to the roulette part, here's the catch with this beer. In keeping with the name Roulette IPA, which is the name, there's a 50-50 chance the beer you open will actually be plain old Voodoo Ranger IPA. Actually, your odds are closer to 1 in 3 because the beer comes in a 6-pack with 2 Malort-style IPAs and 4 regular Voodoo Rangers. But all of the cans look the same. Oh, I love this. I really do. The 6-pack is actually circular if you get your hands on one of these. And there's a little spinner, a little pointer in the center. You spin, and the idea is you play it with friends, drink with friends, but this kind of becomes a game. You take a spin and you grab the beer that the pointer lands on, and hilarity ensues because everybody takes a drink and we find out who gets the Malort face. Here's the bad news, though. The bad news for Malort fans in Chicago, it turns out Roulette IPA. You know what? Bad news for anybody, anywhere out there that loves Malort or just ironically loves Malort, whichever it is. It turns out Roulette IPA is only available at New Belgium's Fort Collins location, at least according to the New Belgium website. Though I have read elsewhere, I think it was on Brewbound, that there will be a few events in Chicago, but they're going to be limited. I don't think you can buy it to go. I think you have to just try it there. But if you'd like to play the home game, the website recommends getting a bottle of Malort and a 6-pack of Voodoo Ranger. I think you can see where this is going. Presumably, you'd open all the cans, and you would douse a couple of the cans with a shot of Malort before playing. You'd have to mix them around. And then you see who gets Malort IPA and who gets the regular Voodoo Ranger. So again, hilarity will ensue. I'm sure this is just awful. I'm sure it's a terrible, gross IPA. It might not be, but I'm still going to say ISO. Would you drink one, Mo Mike Nate? And if you did, do you think you could finish it?
Would I drink one? Yes. Do I think I could finish it? No. And actually, in preparation for the show, I saw on social media a couple of people who had gotten their hands on this and had chilled the cans, did the spin, got the can,
Really?
tried it. And one guy on his first spin, the way it was cut, it was his first spin, got one of the Malort Voodoo Rangers, and he said he took a sip, and it took him a little bit of time. He said it started off just like a regular old IPA. The hops really come through. And then all of a sudden he made a face and he was like, oh, no, I got one of the Malort cans. And it really overwhelms the sensory experience when the Malort takes over. So I would try it. I don't know if I could finish it. What about you, Brian?
It's a bit of a long burn then. So here's now it makes me wonder if you got one and you're not sure, do you just kind of drink it fast or do you slam it? That might be the way to go. Like if you can just chug it. I don't
Brian,
know.
I'll provide you a 16-ounce cup with Voodoo Ranger and a shot of Malort, and you can chug it and tell me how that experience is for you.
I may have to try this Boilermaker just to see.
Ooh.
Well, I think to do it the right way, I think I would, for it to work like this, it would have to be poured into it, which might make it easier because doing the first shot of Malort, that hits you right up. But if it's masked a bit by whatever like sweetness and the fruitiness that comes out of Voodoo Ranger, maybe shooting it's the only way you can finish it. I don't think, my guess is once the flavor starts kicking in, if there's a delay, I think I can go until the flavor starts kicking in. Once the flavor starts hitting, I think I'm done. I don't think I can go any further because honestly, it's pretty revolting. It's there's a reason people do it as a shot and they don't. You know what? I say people do it as a shot. I know there are people that sip it and love it. I know. I don't understand those people. I'm not sure.
They're masochists. They like pain. They're attracted to it. It's all good.
Yeah. So I don't know how they do that, but yes, I think that it's a matter of if you did it fast, you can make it happen. But this is fun. I love stuff like this is still happening, and I kind of hope that they release this a little bit wider because I think that there's not a huge calling for this, but I think there's enough people out there that the occasional drop of this would probably be pretty popular. But so I will say that Voodoo Ranger has been doing these interesting collaborations, I think just about every year around this time. I think last year it was I don't even remember the specifics of it. I don't know if you do, but the Tombstone IPA, IP Pizza, or I think they had they merged the word IPA and pizza together, and I don't remember if it was if there were pizza elements in the IPA or if it was just an IPA made for pizza, but it was like Tombstone Pizza, I think was the collaboration. Do you remember that?
I remember talking about it, but it was
I think it was around this time last year.
See, I'm trying to pull it up on Google, and I'm struggling to find it right now. So,
yeah, that's okay. If you can't, it's no big deal. We can move right along because we've kind of set it up pretty well. We were already talking about doing a shot of Malort and an IPA, and that's a pretty interesting Boilermakers. Well, you know what? It turns out that I found an interesting article on VinePair. And if you've been listening for a while, you know I'm kind of obsessed with the Boilermaker, the beer and a shot combo. So as much as I may not want to willingly drink Malort very often, the idea of that being in a Boilermaker makes me a lot more interested in it already. So when VinePair publishes a list of beer and a shot combos from around the world, I'm going to have to look at it and see if there are any I'm missing. So yeah, it turns out there are a few that I was missing, but the list includes a few that we already know. So there is the Universal Boilermaker, which is basically a term that is used for any kind of beer and shot combo. but it's most commonly used with like lagers and whiskeys. That's typically what people get, like a Bud and I don't know, Johnny Walker or something like that. I'm not sure what the most common one is. Then there is a one we keep hearing about, the citywide special from Philadelphia. It's Pabst Blue Ribbon and Jim Beam. So I've never. Have you done that one? Have you had that one?
No, I've not had that one. I did get talked into a Chicago handshake, which I know is next.
That is next. Yeah. I've had Jim Beam and I've had Pabst Blue Ribbon at different times. Unless I had that at a bar at some point in time in the past that I'm forgetting about, I don't think I've ever actually done them together. I have not done the Chicago handshake, I think, because I don't believe I've had old style in a very long time. If I won't say
Yeah.
ever, but I think a very long time. But I've had plenty of Malort. So
There's a neighborhood bar here in Atlanta that I've got some friends that regularly frequent, and it is one of their regular specials they do, and they decided to order a round for the table, and well, I got talked into an old style Malort.
So the Chicago handshake here in Atlanta, that's a thing. I'm not too surprised. I'm a little more surprised there weren't any in the list. I'm going to spoil the list a little bit. I didn't see any Fernet shots in there because I know that's one that the cocktail folks, the people, the 10 bar, I think they like to do. Oh, I forget what that is. I think it's just the shot of Fernet is one of the things they like to send around.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the list also had things like the car bomb, the Irish car bomb, and the sake bomb, which when we did our sake show, we actually did sake bombs, and that was a lot of fun. Done that in a while. Did you find anything before I move into the parts coming up that we haven't talked about? Did you find anything on that Tombstone collaboration from last year?
Yeah, so that was with Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah,
they did a Tombstone IPZA, so IPIZZA. And so yeah, just a 7% ABV IPA in collaboration with Tombstone, and it's their pizza collab. The can has a pepperoni pizza on it, so I would assume. Let's see, looking at it, flavors of Tombstone crispy crust, tangy tomato sauce, savory herbs, spices, and a finishing pepperoni kick of heat. So
the beer did have some pizza quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought so. I thought there was a little bit of fun stuff in that. That one I'm not as interested. I never did see that, so I don't care as much about that. This one, the roulette IPA, I would kind of like to try that. I think it would be fun to get a group of people together and open up the 6-pack, and you know what, you could just get 3 friends and play it twice. I mean, that would work too. But
there you go.
Anyway, so getting back to the beer and shot combos, now for the ones on the list I have not seen before. These are from around the world. So there's the Kop Stoot from the Netherlands. It's a Pilsner or other kind of lager, and a shot of Genever, which is a Dutch gin. Are you familiar with Genever at all?
I am familiar with Genever, yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued by that because I don't think I've ever done the beer and shot combo with gin. So I think that's an interesting idea. And I guess a Pilsner would probably be one of the better ways to go with that. I would say, I wonder if they do a German Pilsner, if they do a Czech. It probably doesn't matter. Anyway, so there's also the, I'm going to say, I don't know if I can say this, the Luce Lage from Germany. And my German pronunciation isn't the best. It's been a long time since I took any German in school, but that is a sour wheat beer with a shot of something called Kornbrand, a grain-based schnapps with a subtly sweet neutral taste. So I see schnapps and I see, basically Berliner. It makes me wonder if a Berliner and a shot of schnapps would be a good thing together. It's not something I've tried before. I think that this particular brand of schnapps may not be as sweet as some of the ones we get here, but it's worth checking out because Berliners frequently have syrups added to them, so I think this might be something that I try. This does not seem like maybe something it's summer to do. This does seem like maybe colder weather type of thing, and it could just be the schnapps, but this is definitely something to give a shot, give a try, give a shot.
No, so you described the Voodoo Ranger Malort as delightful. This sounds delightful. This combination of schnapps and a Berliner Weiss, because schnapps, at least in the American sense is a little sweet, but definitely fruit forward. And so you think about adding a fruit forward liqueur to a pint of a slightly tart, especially if it's a wheat ale, like a slightly tart wheat ale.
Yeah.
Just sounds like a really good time, especially if it's a little warm outside. You have, that nice ice cold beer, mostly cold beer, but with a schnapps, I would just pour right in. It'd be a good time.
Okay. You know what? You could be right. And now I got to look around and see if I have any schnapps because it's easy enough to get a Berliner. What's the Creature Comforts Berliner? I'm spacing in the name. You know what I'm talking
Are you
about?
talking about Athena?
Yeah, Athena, and they got Tritonia and some other stuff.
Hmm.
And I bet you that I don't know about Tritonia with the cucumber, but some of the other versions of Athena might work really well. The other thing about this, the Luce Lage that I'm talking about here, they got a really interesting, elaborate pouring process. You're supposed to not just dump these together. You're supposed to hold them both with one hand and
Huh.
see if you can think about this. You're trying to let the shot dribble into the beer while you're drinking the beer. And that is supposed to be the way you do that. And apparently they sell special bibs for this because it's very hard to do. This reminds me of the time that Tim drank two Mexican cake bottles
Hmm.
stacked on top of each other and nearly died because he inhaled most of one of them. So,
To be fair, if you didn't bring that up, I was about to bring it up myself.
yeah.
And so Tim was the one who heard about this drinking technique well before you and I had ever heard about it. So
He kind of pioneered his own version of it.
he's a
So
trendsetter, that man.
he should have thought of getting a bib, specialized bib made for it, and maybe a snorkel or something to prevent himself from nearly dying. So, all right. So we got a couple more. We've got South Korea. They've got something called the Somake, which appears to be just dropping a shot of soju into pale lager. And I'd try that. I've had soju before. It's an interesting beverage. I think it would work well in a lager, and it would definitely amp it up and have you feeling real good. And Russia has Yorsh, which is a pale lager and a shot of vodka, and of course it's vodka, but that is meant to be downed in one go. And apparently, the Yorsh is one of the few ways that's acceptable in social settings to drink vodka without doing it as a shot. So I guess people don't. I've never been to Russia, so I can't speak to this. But apparently, you either do vodka as a shot or you can do it as yours. But you don't sit around sipping vodka. That's not a thing. So I guess that's what I've seen in movies. So I guess I have to believe that. So of all of these, which one are you most likely to try out, Mom Mac Dad? And do you have any that aren't listed here that are your favorite beer and shot combos?
So I don't. I mean, the universal boilermaker of commonly a lager and a whiskey is usually my go-to. I will never willingly take a Chicago handshake again, but
Yeah.
but we do have a fellow on here who's been chatting with us, John, who talks about how curling tradition in many clubs is if you hog the rock, don't get it past the hog line on the other side, you have to take a shot on Malort. So maybe John, if you bring a 12 pack of Chicago Old Style to your next thing, you can cheers with the Chicago handshake. Honestly, the one from Germany, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. The Schnapps and Berliner. I think that would be the one that I would be most excited to try. What about you, Brian?
I think it's a possible winner. I think one of the ones I was coming back to a fair amount that comes to mind is like an IPA, anything like a big hop presence. I think maybe a double IPA is better for this, but I'm not sure. And a shot of rum. And sometimes you could actually sip the two together. And I found that was actually not a bad way to go. If you've got a good stout, the thing about stouts these days is most of them, if you see them on the shelf, they've already been in a bourbon barrel or whatever. But if they haven't been, a nice shot of whiskey or a shot of bourbon with that, and maybe even if it has, like you could sip on that, and those two together, they make sense because frequently that's what's already happening in the beer. So it does make sense you would do that. Yeah, there was let me think. There was something else. There's a Pilsner. I went to a place in Orlando and they had what's the little bottles, the digestive bottles, you know what I'm talking about?
Underberg?
Underbergs. It was It was a lager and a shot of Underberg, and that was like the house special. And I got to tell you, it worked. And I think it was like, oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue from California, like Red Seal or something like that. Scrimshaw Pilsner. That's what it was. He was Scrimshaw Pilsner in Underberg. And I was very impressed by how well those two work together. And yeah, it's roughly a shot of Underberg and a Scrimshaw. Man, I'd do that again. That's really solid stuff.
You know, you mentioned earlier about how Fernet Branca seems to be like the go-to shot for bartenders.
Yeah.
It seems to me like a shot of Underberg is the go-to shot for brewers. Like Underberg
You're
is
right.
really pervasive and seemingly in brewing circles.
Well, it is a digestive, and I think that people tend to get it's something that people will drink for bloating. Like I think that originally people were drinking it after they ate, if they ate too much or ate really rich food. But if you ate bar food and you were drinking beer, there's a lot of, carbonation and things going on there. So that's true. I've seen Underberg on the counter at a lot of different tap rooms. So I think you're right. I think that is kind of the default, I don't know, the handshake or what do you want to call it? The shot of the brewery. So if you're going to go that route, not that breweries need a shot, they got so much beer, but well, I think that's about it. You got anything else you want to bring up before we close it out?
Nope, I'm all good.
All right. So I guess that about wraps it up for the show this week. Thank you again for hanging out with us. We hope you had a good time. And if you did have a good time, we hope you'll support us by telling a friend to check out the show and subscribe if you haven't already. And then subscribe your friend while they're not looking. It's fine. They'll love you for it. And if you really, really, really enjoy the show and what we're doing here, we'd appreciate your support on Patreon. Just go over to patreon.com/beerguys. There are all kinds of cool, fun perks over there, including access to our Discord server where we talk about beer and other things all week long. And we also do an after party after each show for our Patreon supporters. After party because it happens after the show. With that said, we hope you have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.